This is going to be a complete beginner's guide to Ars Nouveau. It doesn't look like we've got a lot here, but we actually have got a lot to talk through. This is being filmed on 1.21, but the mod doesn't really change much per version, so this should be absolutely fine to watch on any version of Minecraft. And I'm going to make it very beginner friendly as well. So the first thing you are going to need is the worn notebook. A piece of lapis lazuli and a book makes you the worn notebook. And this is your instruction manual for Ars Nouveau. When you first go into the book, you do have a getting started chapter, but in my opinion, that chapter is quite overwhelming. So let's start off with the simple things then. World generation. The first thing you may find sometimes are these arcwood trees. There's a purple, red, yellow, blue, and green one. They have a small chance to spawn in any biome at all and come in 4 types. Well, 5 actually, I've just shown you. Rarely you may stumble upon an arcwood forest, a biome full of magical creatures, naturally spawning lights and arcwood trees. So some of the fruits they give, you get a bomber granite, a fruit that packs a punch, can be brewed into a potion of blasting, causing the target to explode. The idea here is you make it into splash potions, otherwise, you're going to explode. The mendocine can be made into a potion of recovery, increasing the amount of healing received. Frostea, or Frostia, can be brewed into a potion of freezing. And the Bastion fruit can be brewed into a potion of defense. So basically, what you want to do, if you find these trees, is cut them down, take the saplings, and get those fruit from them in some sort of tree farm, because the potions they can make are really, really cool. You may also find out in the wild some source berries here. A sourceberry bush can be found in taiga and arcwood forest biomes. They can also be used to craft a potion of mana regeneration, and mana is the main resource we're going to be using in our Ars Nouveau once we have made our spellbook to cast our spells. You can also make them into foods. The sourceberries can be eaten on their own, made into sourceberry pie, using a Magebloom, which I'm going to show you later, some sugar and an egg with 3 sourceberries. You can actually get a really good pie there. And also a sourceberry roll, which is just some wheat with it. And again, it's actually a really good source of food, fairly early game if you do find one of these forests. So, now that we've gone over world generation, how do we make our first spellbook, which is the novice spellbook? And how do we use it as well? Of course, that's quite important. Well, with a book, you simply in a crafting table want to place an iron shovel, an iron pickaxe, an iron sword, and an iron axe, and that will get you your novice spellbook. You can see I've got it here in my hand, and on the bottom left, you can see we now have a mana bar. When I actually scroll off it, the mana bar goes. When I hover over the book, the mana bar comes up. And you may see it says 10, naughty. I've just realised, without context, that is going to look so ridiculous. Or you'll be like, what the hell? So more on that in a second. So if I right-click, you can see I'm firing a spell. So to actually go into your spellbook, you want to press C on your keyboard. That is C for Charlie, okay? C for Charlie brings up this one. If there is a conflict, obviously check your keybinds. So this is quite an overwhelming thing to look at in here. So we can have up to 10 spells at a time in our novice spellbook. Spell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. And this is where you set them. Number 10, which is why you see the 10 on the bottom left, is my naughty spell. And I'll explain why it's called that in a minute. So on the top left, we have documentation. That takes you back to the worn notebook, which you don't really care about. Color picker is where you can pick the color of your spells. So you can see here, mine is pink. Then we have the next one, familiars. Now, familiars is not going to be fully covered in this beginner guide. That'll be my ultimate guide, and I will have a separate video especially for familiars on my channel. So I'm going to press close. Sounds, you can turn up or down the sounds of the game. We also have settings and rewards. You can turn on or off dynamic lights. That can help with lag. And then you can join the Discord as well. Not my Discord, but the Ars Nouveau Discord, of course. So then, when you first unlock the novice spellbook, you can see we've got our mana. Depending on what version of Ars Nouveau you're using, you may see a number with your mana, or you may not. And you will have unlocked, by default, a few things. So we have the form and the effect. When you first unlock the novice spellbook, you will only have projectile, self, or touch. if I press shift, it says a tier 1 glyph. So there are tier 1, 2, and 3 glyphs. You will have touch, self, and projectile unlocked as default, as well as harm and break. Projectile. A spell you start with summons a projectile. Self basically applies it to yourself. And then touch applies spells at the block or entity that is targeted. So if you want to make a spell, and the reason it's called naughty here is because I originally made a spell where I said, right, let's do some harm. So you just click it, left click it, and it appears down here. You can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Your spell could be 10 glyphs long. The more you add in, the more complex it is. And I thought maybe we should try it on our self, which obviously spells out self. You get the picture. So I thought, let's not call it that. And then I realised I'm in creative, so it wouldn't have been a good one. But that's why the spell is called that in the bottom left. So what I'm going to say is, on number 1, I'm going to click projectile. So it's a projectile spell. And then I'm going to say break. Breaks blocks of an average hardness can be amplified to increase the harvest level. And I'm going to speak to you shortly about amplifying our spells. So I've gone projectile and break. Then I'm going to go into spell name and call it mining. And I'm going to click create. Then under number 1 here, I have the spell mining. Whereas under number 10, I have the naughty spell. So if I come out of my book under number 1, I can now use that spell. You see it's breaking dirt when I fire it. And my mana is going down and regenerating on the left bottom hand side of the screen, as you can see. If I then go back in and go to number 10, and then click create, now it's on the number 10 spell. If I go back into my book and press number 1 and press create, it's now going to be number 1. What you can also do is press V for Victor on your keyboard by default, and it brings up a wheel where you can just select all the different spells. So I can toggle naughty, and I can toggle mining. Now, by default, I do believe we can mine up to iron with the break spell. So I can just place an iron ore there. If I hold over my novice spellbook and right-click, boom, I've broken that. And I've actually mined some iron with the breaking spell. You can also use X and Z to go through your spells. As you can see, I'm cycling through them on the bottom left. So X, Z, C, and V are the 4 controls you'll be using in Ars Nouveau for your spellbook. Okay, cool. So now that we've made a basic spell, how do we amplify it? Like I said, maybe we have a diamond ore. And if I use this one on it, let's bring up V1 and right-click it. Oh, it did break it. But it cannot break obsidian. As you can see here, it's just doing absolutely nothing to it. So maybe we want to upgrade that spell. To do that, we can make a scribe's table, needing some arc wood, doesn't matter which one, some slabs, and a few little gold nuggets. And this here is our scribe's table. If I right-click into this with my spellbook, it opens up all of these glyphs. You can see here tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 2 and tier 3 will need a better spellbook, which we're not going to go over in this beginner video, which will require you to upgrade your spellbook. So let's just start off by looking at tier 1. And remember, we want to amplify our spell we've made. So I'm going to hover over the yellow ones, sensitive, randomize, amplify. Now, what does this need? You can hold left shift to look at more info, because there's a lot of glyphs in here, and I'm obviously not going to go over all of them. Additively increases the power of most spell effects, can increase the harvest level of break, and increases the damage of spells. So if I click on amplify, and I say select, it says not enough experience for this glyph. So it will need experience to unlock it. When we hover over it, can you see here that it says levels required 3? So you will need 3 levels of experience in order to unlock that glyph. So now that I've come back and I've got enough experience levels, let's try that again. Tier 1, amplify, select. Cool. Now what you can actually see here that I've pressed select is it's come up in orange writing, toss items as they appear above to complete crafting. And can you see there's a diamond pickaxe? Now if I right click on it again and go to tier 1 and amplify, can you see here it does ask me at the bottom for a diamond pickaxe. This one's asking for a target, this one's asking for a fishing rod, etc, etc. So what I'm going to need is to actually give this a diamond pickaxe in order to complete unlocking it. So I can just right click it with my diamond pickaxe, and can you see it's actually automatically writing the scroll out? It's actually insane how cool this mod is. And then off pops the glyph of amplify. I can pick it up, right click it, and I've now unlocked amplify. Now when I go into my spell book, I can see augment, and it says increases the harvest level. Now I can put this on here loads of times to make, you know, the break level go insane. Maybe it'd be obsidian, and then maybe it would be manulin or cobalt and ardite, etc. Maybe from Tinker's Construct. You know, it doesn't seem much harder things you can probably get. Now, what you'll see is that it's with the projectile and break. Can you see my mana? It's got about 10% or so here off it. And when I click amplify, now it looks like about 15-20% has come off it. If I add more amplifies, as you can see with 5 of them, it shows my mana bar down here. That is how much mana it's going to use to cast that spell. Let's put on 2 amplifies here and press again, create, and see if we can break that obsidian. So I've just done it. And then, boom! I now am able to break obsidian with the break spell that I've made with my 2 levels of amplify. You might just need 1, I'm not sure, but you could just test that out. And if I want to test it out 1, I could just delete it from there, click it, delete it. They are now unlocked in my spellbook. And that is how you unlock and add amplify to spells. Let's just have a look at a few more things here with this. So obviously tier 1 at the moment. We've also got Underfoot, targets the spell on the block beneath the player. That's another purple one we can do. There's randomize the behavior of some glyphs. Sensitive, causes forms to be to target blocks they normally cannot target. Projectile and orbit will target grass, and touch will target fluids and air, which can be really, really useful in, you know, certain circumstances you may be making a spell for. There's a spell called Craftlet, opens the crafting menu, basically a mobile crafting station. Conjure Mage Light. This is a really cool one. If cast on a block, a permanent light source is created, may be amplified up to glowstone brightness or dampened for a lower light level. So let's have a look at that one. We need a lantern and a torch. I'm going to press, in fact, how much XP does it have? I'm sure I've got enough. So we need to get a lantern and a torch here. Lantern and a torch. There we go. If we right click the torch, right click the lantern, we're going to unlock that one. So there we go. We've now unlocked Mage Light. So if we use that, go. I can again right click it and boom, we've now unlocked it. Go into your spellbook again, and what I'm going to put is probably touch, because I don't want to just throw it around. I mean, you could do it. You could light up a cave really easily with Conjure Mage Light. So I could be like, boom, and it's going to make a Mage Light. Oh no. See what I didn't do there is I didn't create the spell. So it's called mining still, remember? I need to delete these off it and put projectile, Mage Light, and create to save it. And now, where I throw this spell, can you see it's... Well, you can't see with that. You see now, I can put these Mage Lights everywhere. And if I amplify it... And then, if you are wondering, how many times can I amplify it? You can see now it says Conjure Mage Light is already augmented to the limit by Amplify. So you know that you're now at the limit. And if I press this now, it's going to be at glowstone brightness. Isn't that cool? And we could just, you know, click them to delete them if we wish. There's loads and loads you can do with these spells. The potential is absolutely endless. And I would really encourage you to just go through these, hold shift down, and just read all the different ones and think, you know, how can I put these together? I think if you ever get sort of kind of overwhelmed by it, just remember, do I want it to be doing it to the block I'm touching? Should it do it to me as the player? Should it be a projectile? Or should it be pantomime, which applies it to the nearest block in your line of sight, for example? What effect do I want it to have? Do I want it to have multiple effects? You could say Conjure Mage Light and Break. So if I place that one, what it's going to do is if I fire it here, it's going to break the block it hits and also place a Mage Light there, for example. You can see that happening again there. So you really can mix and match, adding loads of different things into these spells. It doesn't just have to be one, certain thing that the spell is doing. You really can go crazy with these, if you will. Now let's have a look at something else. This here is an Imbuement Chamber. It's very, very, very simple to make, and you can just plop it on the ground, as you can see here. What we're going to do is take a piece of lapis, and I'm going to place it into it. Now, what you can see is it's drawing this like pink energy from the air around it, and that is called Source. Source is another resource in Ars Nouveau. And after a while, can you see it says crafting progress 30, 32, 34? It's drawing source from the air around us to turn the lapis into a source gem. I'm also shortly going to show you more ways to make source. So, a source gem. That is this item here. As you can see, Imbuement Chamber needs 500 source to make it, a lapis lazuli, and a source gem is what you're going to make. So whenever you see these, basically what we're saying is the items in the middle is what you're using, top right is what you are actually going to be making from the imbuement. Now when it's done, you can see it's there like that, and I can just right click it and get a source gem into my inventory. If you want to make it even faster, we can speed it up with something called a source link. Now this one here, I'm just going to delete all these actually. This one here is an agronomic source link. So, how does it work? And let's just see how you make it. I'm just making sure there's no weird recipes where you don't know what to do. Yes, so 2 source gems. Once you've made 2 of them, you can then make the agronomic source link. And you can also make a source jar, which just needs some glass actually and some wood. It's very easy to make. So the agronomic source link is going to make source not every time, but sometimes when there's a growth tick. So if I plant these seeds, what you'll see sometimes... do you see that? Do you see that perfect timing? Did you just see then that like a big kind of bolt of energy went into the source jar? So sometimes when there's a growth tick on your plants, and you just saw it again, not by bone meal, it has to be like a natural growth stage from trees and crops being grown. It will generate source, and the agronomic source link will take that source and it will go into a nearby jar that you've placed. You can see from a sort of 5x5 wheat area, we have gotten it 32% full already, full of source. And you can just break this and carry it around wherever you need. Things like the Imbuement Chamber will take source from nearby jars, etc., if applicable, when crafting. And that is the agronomic source link. If we look at source links in JEI, you can see there is the volcanic source link, the alchemical source link, the vitalic source link, and the mycelial source link. So, the volcanic source link. This one generates source by consuming burnable items. Logs will generate bonus source, archwood logs that is, and blazing archwood being the most. As the volcanic source link produces source, it produces heat, used for spawning lava lilies and converting stone into lava. The volcanic source link automatically outputs to nearby jars, starting with the one closest to it. Nearby blazing archwood items will be burned up in exchange for a chunk of source and then generate heat. And it will take items from surrounding pedestals. Pedestals, you can basically, these things, you can just place them around. So early game, you're probably just going to be making the agronomic source link, but I wanted to make sure I tell you about all of them. So putting nearby kind of items, the volcanic one will, suck them up and eat them. We've got the vitalic source link. That will generate a moderate amount of source from nearby mob deaths and animal breeding. Additionally, it will generate passive source from nearby baby animals and will accelerate their growth. This is really good to put near your mob farms for generating more source. Then there is the alchemical source link, and that generates source from consuming potions from adjacent potion jars. The amount of source varies per potion and depends on how complex the potion is. I do believe potion jars... Yeah, you need to make abjuration essence to make the potion jars for that one, and that's made with an imbuement chamber with 2,000 source. So earlier we showed the imbuement chamber on its own, but what you can also do is put pedestals around it, and I'm going to show you now. A pedestal is using gold nuggets, some source stone, and source gems. To make source stone, you simply get one of your source gems and surround it with any type of stone. So let's get those pedestals and put them here. So like this, in the corners. You can do up to 8 of them like this. You will need some source nearby, so I'm just going to get a creative source jar. If I can find it, here we go. Place that there. So I can place in here the source gem, and what you can see is it's saying, "Oh no, there's an issue. It's not working." This is a little bit more advanced, but I just wanted to show you the different ways you can make source. So again, we need an abjuration essence. It needs a milk bucket, a fermented spider eye, and sugar. Now that I've got those 3 items, I'm going to place the fermented spider's eye, the sugar, and the milk around the imbuement chamber, and then my final item, the catalyst, the source gem. And just as a quick reminder, if we press R in JEI on the potion jar, you can see we're making abjuration essence. In the imbuement chamber again, it shows the item in the middle is the catalyst, what other items you need around it on pedestals, and then what it will make is in the top right corner. So if I right click it with the source gem, you can see now it is crafting it very, very slowly. There we go. I need to put my jars a bit closer. Can you see it's now taking the essence from the jar here? And ta-da! We have now made the abjuration essence. So what we can now do, go into our crafting table, get our source jar with our abjuration essence, and make a potion jar. Place down the potion jar, and I can right-click a potion in it, and you can see it's filling up with potions, and it can actually store loads and loads of potions in there when I right-click it. Meaning, if I then got a potion, is it source link? Or alchemical, I think it is. I even remember. An alchemical source link. And I place it next to this one. And we need to make sure that there's somewhere for it. So again, I'm going to get a jar, a source jar near it. And now you can see it's pushing the source from the potion. The alchemical source link is actually pushing the source into the source jar and depleting the potion here, the potion vial that I have made. The last one is the mycelial one. Generates a moderate amount of source from nearby food, generating more for the more nourishing food. Source berries are worth far more than other mundane food. Additionally, the mycelial source link will convert grass or dirt in the 3x3 below it into mycelium and will grow mushrooms around it if the space is empty. Source link will also pull items from nearby pedestals as well. Now, if you're wondering about how to automate these things, I'm going to touch on this later in the beginner guide, but I will be going into it a lot more in my familiars guide video. I don't want to overwhelm you too much in this video, but that is all of the source links you can make and how we can generate source in Ars Nouveau. Now we need something a bit more complex in the game, and that is going to be our enchanting apparatus. So, how do we make that? Well, the first thing we're going to need is a core, and that is called an arcane core, again using source stone and some source gems, etc. What we can do with the arcane core is put it beneath the ground or below wherever you're placing it. It looks like that. There's a little core in there. And then above it, we're going to put our enchanting apparatus. Again, simple to make here. That goes above it like that. And then again, we're going to put some pedestals. So on the corners, and then out one more. Like that. And we've got 8 pedestals. And this is for our enchanting apparatus. If I flick through here, you can see there is a million billion recipes that we can make in the enchanting apparatus. This is basically what I would consider a sort of more advanced version than your imbuement chamber. Where the imbuement chamber makes kind of more basic things, the enchanting apparatus is kind of more advanced items. The first item you're going to want to make in your enchanting apparatus here is going to be a Magebloom seed. If I look at the recipe for this, you can see that we put a seed in the center here. And then we put 4 source gems around it, and it gets us a Magebloom seed. So let's do that now. Let's get our seed and our source gems. So I'm going to place 1, 2, 3, 4 source gems and a seed in the middle. And as you can see here, it's going to create, it's so beautiful. I love this mod. It's going to create something really cool, which is a Magebloom seed. And there we go. You can right click it to take the seed out. A magically infused flower, Mageblooms provide additional source to nearby agronomic source links as they grow and provide a source of Magebloom fiber. So the TLDR there is if you plant Magebloom seeds and you have a agronomic source link, this is basically the best crop you want to plant if you are using these agronomic ones to make your sauce. When these ones grow, they will actually make a lot more sauce than mundane crops like wheat will. So getting a farm of these started is going to be in your best interest. Mageblooms can also be used in crafting potions of spell damage, increasing the damage of your spells. What they can also make from the fully grown Magebloom is Magebloom fiber and Magebloom blocks. Magebloom fiber can actually be used to make a few things: a Wixie hat, a trinkets pouch, and orange Magebloom beds, which we're going to use for our familiars and things like that. But most importantly, the alteration table, which now brings us to our gear. Before we go straight into gear, it has just reminded me that I forgot to tell you something. And that is, if you were wondering how to upgrade your mana, how much mana you have, every single spell that you unlock in here will give you more mana. So literally every time you unlock a spell, it's in your best interest to unlock as many spells as you can in here. Your mana bar will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, meaning you can do more spells. Another way you can do it is with the gear I'm about to show you. So to start making gear in Ars Nouveau, we need an alteration table. How do we make that? Well, it's a scribe's table, which is the one you made earlier for your spells, and surround it with 4 Magebloom fiber. Magebloom fiber is made from the Magebloom that we've just made using the seeds that I showed you in the enchanting apparatus. So, make an alteration table. And now we need to... Well, that's actually how you edit the clothing. Now let's look at clothing. So, to start with, in the enchanting apparatus, again, we can use 4 Magebloom fiber and a pair of golden boots to make sorcerer's foot pads. You can see there it says tier empty 1. It's going to give you +1 mana regeneration, +30 mana, and 1 armor. If I put into here sorcerers, you can see there's obviously the foot, the chest, the feet, legs, chest, and head. And each one in the enchanting apparatus uses gold gear and some Magebloom. So let's just do that. I'm just going to show you one of them just so we can see how it's done. So I'm going to put 4 Magebloom fiber, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a gold chest in the middle, and it's going to turn it into the sorcerer's chest, whatever the chest piece is called. And we can right click, and we have the sorcerer's wrap. Now, can you see there on the wrap, on the chest piece, it says tier and then empty 2. Yet the oh no, that's I'm a bit ahead of myself here. Yeah, on the boots it says empty 1. So let's talk about tiers and what we can put in them. If we go into, if I can find, here we go, armor and perks. What we can see here is Fred tiers. And to get to this in the book, by the way, you go to armor and perks, go to the next page, magical armor, next page, Fred tiers. So you can actually add something called Freds to the armor. On the sorcerer set, on the head, you can add a tier 1 piece of Fred. On the chest, it's a tier 2 piece of Fred. On the boots, it's a tier 1 piece of Fred. And you can see here, a blank equals 1, filled equals 2, and the bigger one equals 3. Meaning, a tier 1 headpiece can only have one tier 1 Fred. A tier 2 headpiece can have a tier 1 and a tier 2 Fred upgrade. The sorcerer's chest at tier 1 can have tier 2. At the tier 2, it can have a tier 1 and a tier 2 upgrade. And a tier 3 chest piece can have 2 tier 2s and a tier 3. I hope that makes sense. Just to be really clear here, when we start off making these items, they are a tier 1. You can upgrade the gear to be a tier 2 or a tier 3 of that piece of gear. And then we can have upgrades in the gear. And depending on what tier of item you've made or upgraded it to, depends on the tier of upgrades you can have in it. Meaning we've got 1, 2, and 3 slots on each item, depending on the tier of upgrade. And then at a tier 3 headpiece, we can have on the sorcerer set a tier 1, 2, and 3 Fred in it. Hopefully that makes sense. You can then see there's a few different set pieces which can have different upgrades in them depending on what they are. There's the sorcerers, there's the arcanists, there's the battle mages as well. And it does tell you somewhere about the different gears, because I can't remember exactly which offer what. So the battle mages, you can see here, gives loads and loads of armor, plus 8 armor. And that's really good for that. The sorcerer's one, I think, really enhances your spells. And the other one, I can't remember. There's also the pyromancers. You can see here, absorb some fire-related damage to convert into mana. You've also got the aether mancers, absorb some air-related damage. There's different kind of ones here, aqua and geomancer as well for water and earth. The arcanist's one, here we go. We've got the arcanist's one. We've got the sorcerer's one. We've got the battle mage's one. So that's how you make them. Okay. And then how do we make the Freds to upgrade them? So, blank Fred. Used to craft Freds that may be used to empower your magical armor. So to make the blank Fred, again, it's Magebloom fiber with golden nuggets. And then we can upgrade, and then we can add these different Freds in here. So if I press use, you can see again, in the Enchanting Apparatus, we can put the Fred in the middle and use all these different items to actually make cool different Freds. Like the Fred of Warding reduces the amount of magical damage taken flat for each level. For example, a good one that you might want to make early game could be the Fred of the Starbuncle. This needs a few Starbuncle tokens and some Manipulation Essence. Manipulation Essence, again, is made in the Imbuement Chamber using redstone, duststone, button, and a clock. So you can sort of look how each kind of item is made. It's either going to be in the Imbuement Chamber or the Enchanting Apparatus. Starbuncle Charms, we're going to talk about shortly. Maybe we want the Fred of Magic Capacity, needing just 3 Magebloom and 3 Source Berries in the Enchanting Apparatus, again with the blank Fred in the middle. Let's say we're going to go with that. Magic Capacity increases the user's maximum mana by 10%. So what I can do here is get my Fred of Magic Capacity, which I would have made in my Enchanting Apparatus, just like how we made the clothing items, and I can right-click it onto the alteration table that I've placed. And can you say it says place armor onto the table? So I go, okay. I'm going to place my chest piece on there. And then I can right-click the Fred of Magic Capacity and then right-click the chest piece. When I now look at the chest piece, can you see it says tier Magic Capacity 2? and it shows plus 20% max mana. And we have added that to our chest piece. I can place it back down and then take off the thread and then take the gear back to take it off. And that's how you can change it around. So now let's look at upgrading the gear to the second and third tier. So in the enchanting apparatus, if you put a piece of gear in the middle with 2 blaze rods, that will increase it from tier 1 to tier 2. To go from tier 2 to tier 3, it's a chorus fruit and 2 ender pearls. Let's try that now. Let's get 2 blaze rods. And this will start to make more sense, hopefully, if it's not already, once we do this. So I'm going to put 1 and 2 blaze rods and then put that in the middle. You see, there's not enough source nearby. And if I push U on my Sorcerer's Wrap and go Magic Armor Upgrade, you can see here, to go to tier 2, I need 2,500 source. So make sure you've got a source jar nearby. I'm just going to plonk that hair in the middle, place it in the middle, and now it's taking the source from here, it's taking the blaze rods, and it's upgrading that to a tier 2 chest piece. And now when I look at it, can you see it says empty 3 and empty 2? That means that we can put a tier 2 thread in there. So if I put my thread of magic capacity in, it will probably go to a tier 3 automatically, meaning it's plus 30% mana. Whereas on the foot pads, empty 1, it's only going to add a 10% increase to my mana because we only have a tier 1 slot available. Some threads will require it to be at least tier 2 or tier 3 slots available. They don't have, it's not a tier 1, 2, or 3. It's just a tier 2 or 3, for example. And now that is a tier 2 Sorcerer's Wrap. We can have 2 different threads put onto our chest piece. And that is how you upgrade your gear. If you're never not sure, just press U in JEI and go to Magic Armor Upgrade. Either Ars Elemental, which is an add-on mod for Ars Nouveau, where you can get the Aether Masters, etc. It shows you how to upgrade them in the Enchanting Apparatus. Or there's the Magic Armor Upgrade. You can see how you get the different tiers. And obviously the 5,000 source needed is the tier 3, and then the Blaze Rod one is tier 2. We've already been through quite a lot now in this beginner guide, and I want to talk to you about one more thing, which is just starting to automate some of the things we're doing and making life a bit easier. And the way we're going to do that is with a Starbuncle. So under the starting automation, you can see in here we have Starbuncle charms. Starbuncles naturally appear in wooded areas in search of golden nuggets. So they will run away from you. Let's get a Starbuncle out, shall we? They will run away. This is a cute little Starbuncle. And they like golden nuggets. So they will come up to you if you're holding a golden nugget. Where the hell is a golden nugget in here? Am I blind? Oh, it's just called gold nugget, isn't it? Oh my goodness. And if I just drop it, Starbuncle okay. You see it's picked it up. And then it's gone, boom, it's disappeared. And it has turned into Starbuncle tokens, obtained by giving a wild Starbuncle a golden nugget. We can now use these Starbuncle tokens basically to summon them and do our bidding. To do that, though, we are going to need a Dominion Wand. And that is made, again, in the Enchanting Apparatus with a stick in the middle, 2 source gems, and a gold ingot. Make that. I'm going to magically whack it out of JEI. And now we can actually summon our Starbuncle. So what I'm going to do here specifically is... Oh, no, not that one. That's a thingy one. So if I get rid of that, if I right-click on the ground, you'll see that nothing happens. What you first need to do is make a Starbuncle charm. So again, in the Enchanting Apparatus, it's the Starbuncle token and 4 gold nuggets. If I just take a Starbuncle charm out, and I can just right-click on the ground with my Starbuncle charm, and we will get, a Starbuncle. You can then use our Dominion Wand to set up where it's actually going to be, where it's going to be doing its bidding. So it can do quite a lot of things. One, it will harvest from nearby Magebloom crops automatically for you, which can automate, therefore, a Magebloom farm for your agronomic source link, making your source jar. Ta-da! So that's automated that. There you go. What we can actually do is, let me just make sure I'm doing this the right way around. Summon Starbuncles will pick up nearby items and move them between inventory such as chests. They will also harvest nearby fully grown berry bushes around it. Sauceberry. A Starbuncle will drop its charm when dispelled or when killed. And it is actually source berries they harvest, by the way, not Magebloom. So what I could do is right-click the Starbuncle with my Dominion Wand. And it says Stored Entity. And then I can right-click the Starbuncle. And then shift right-click the chest. Can you see it says in the chat, Starbuncle will store items here. And look! It's, oh my goodness, this is just so cute. Oh, it stored the Starbuncle trophy from when I killed its friend. So now, if I shift right-click the Starbuncle, it will clear its tasks. So again, I can right-click the Starbuncle and shift right-click the chest, and it will then actually store items in the chest. And you can see it says storing items at 1 location, taking items from 0 location. If I put another chest here, I can actually shift right-click the chest, and then I can right-click the Starbuncle, and it will say it will take from this inventory. And then I can shift right-click the other chest, and it should then take it from this inventory and put it in this inventory. Oh, hang on. It's trying to put it in here and store. Take it out of there. Let's clear the tasks. Let's say position set on the chest. Then right-click the Starbuncle. Then, if we shift right-click that chest, it doesn't do anything. Okay. No, what we need to do is a separate task. So it's individual tasks. My apologies. We shift right-click the chest and then the Starbuncle to make it take from there. And then what we do is right-click the Starbuncle and shift right-click that chest, and it should put them in there. And it still doesn't want to. Well, that is annoying. So maybe it can only do one thing. Maybe it can only take or give. What we could also do is get an item frame. Boring old item frame. And put that on here. And let's say I want to get Verdant Sprig. And I want to say, I'm going to clear this. And I'm going to say, right-click the Starbuncle and shift right-click the chest. It's going to store items here. If I drop the Potion of Swiftness, it doesn't do anything. If I drop the Verdant Sprig, it's going to take it into that chest because I've told it to filter it with the item frame. We can also right-click the Starbuncle, and then you can actually see which chest it's going to. It's got a little flame in, see? We can also right-click this piece of grass, and it will make sure that it takes this path. So if you want it to take certain pathing, you can. And there's also a bed that you can put it in as well. There is the... Where is it? The Magebloom beds here. I can plop the bed down. And I can right-click the Starbuncle and shift right-click the bed. And that's where it will always return to if there are no other tasks for it to do. Really good if you don't want your Starbuncle getting in the way of other stuff, or if you just want to kind of, you don't want it just lingering around when it's got nothing to do. So you can actually set these up to do quite a lot of automations. Loads of little Starbuncles running around, automating things, etc. You can also make this Wixie hat here. Allows Starbuncles to transport potions once wearing a Wixie hat. Use the Dominion Wand to connect them between potion jars. A really good way then of setting up your alchemical source link. You could have a potion farm going and then have them going to the potion jars to empty the potions into the potion jars and automating that kind of source generation there as well. So there's a few different ways you can automate your source generation, etc. using these little Starbuncles. There are lots of other familiars, but I'm going to go over that in my familiars video and my ultimate guide. I don't want to overwhelm you for this one. And that, everyone, is everything for the beginner guide to Ars Nouveau. Going through it again, don't forget we've got these trees. Then we are going to have our Imbuement Chamber. We can have all different kinds of source links to actually generate source. We can make spells in our scribes table. We can use our Enchanting Apparatus for more complex things, and we can upgrade our gear in the alteration table. as well. And that is it. I hope this was useful for you and wasn't too overwhelming. If you actually head over to my channel, you can see on the homepage here, I do have a Minecraft shelf at the top, as I do cover all of the latest releasing games and not just Minecraft. So if you are looking for specific Minecraft mods and you don't see them here, please do comment below, as I'd love to know which ones you need tutorials for, whether they're an old version of Minecraft or new. And do click that subscribe button if this has helped you. I have got loads of Minecraft mod tutorials, and I will be doing the entirety of the mod in bite-sized tutorials and ultimate guides for Ars Nouveau as well.